little housekeeping things, and hopefully by the time I'm done with that, she'll be on. So just some announcements. You should have received an email at this time that student evaluations are live. I always appreciate your feedback. It's super helpful to the entire teaching community to know how you guys are responding to class. So please be sure to fill them out. You should have, I think, until probably around December 12th to finish. Lecture prep questions, as always, are due before class, with one question answered immediately after class. Keep it on the same email chain with nothing else on the chain to just keep the paperwork more streamlined. Today at the end of class, please make sure to email your attendance answer to me. I'm also going to have you email Fran's assistant, CC'd on the same email chain, as they are implementing a giveaway with today's attendance, which will be kind of fun. They're going to pick the top 5 answers to give a prize to. And lastly, if you are still interested and want some time with me, one-to-one career advice sign-up document is here. Please make sure to do so. Does anyone have any questions?
So,
is that a question or just a accidental unmute? Okay, moving forward, just a reminder of our remote guidelines here. At this stage, it should be old hat for most of you, but please raise your hand if you want to speak and I'll call on you in order. Type immediate or pressing questions in the chat. And if you're speaking, please turn on your camera so that we can see you. And try to preemptively turn on your camera in advance of when you are starting to speak. And unmute only when you're beginning to speak. And this is being recorded, as are all classes. I can't even believe it, but we're really getting down to the end of things here. We have Fran Dunaway today, who is the CEO and co-founder of TomboyX. Looks like she's just joining us now, so she should be with us in a moment. Next week, your current is the current issues class, so there's no actual physical class or virtual class, but your assignment is due by 6 p.m. a week from today on 11/23. It is a midterm based on the reading of The State of the Fashion 2020 by McKinsey, which is also posted in the Blackboard share drive under content. The midterm itself can also be found under Blackboard content. Does anyone have any questions on that? It will be live after class today. Luhua.
So, hi, Professor. So I have a question about the current issue. Like, what is the format and how long is the duration that we're able to take it?
You're able to take it. You can use as much time as you want, and you have 2 attempts just in case you accidentally submit it. Like all the assignments that you've done in this class so far, it's really a lot based on your personal opinion. It's a bit of a reading comprehension based on what you've read, and then thinking about it critically and thinking about it in the landscape of where we are today and giving me your feedback back on that.
Got it, thank you.
It's essential that you read the document. It's essential that you read The State of the Fashion 2020. But beyond that, it's not as if there are completely wrong answers. It's just kind of your interpretation of the text.
Got it, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Shay.
And when did you say that closed? Because you said it opened after class.
I'm giving you a full week to do it. So it'll open after class today at 6 o'clock, and it will be closed by a week from today at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to start grading once they're in. So if by a chance you accidentally submit and you did not mean to, just drop me an email so I know and it doesn't get all messed up. But you have 2 attempts also if you do an accidental submission, so you can just kind of go back in and do your attempt again. Any more questions? Okay. Next week we have the week after the midterm, we have Virginie Lanouin, who's a collection coordinator for Isabelle Marant, and should be coming to us live from Paris. The following week we have Kim Nemzer, Chief Merchandising Officer at Warby Parker. And we will close out class with our final lecture on 12/14. Fashion Services Network will be joining us with a group of panelists. As a reminder, that is your last day to submit lecture prep questions, of which you need to do 2 throughout the semester. So if you haven't done any yet, which there are a couple of you out there, you're getting down to the wire. So make sure you pay attention to who's coming up so you can get your questions in. And with that, I believe Fran has officially joined us. I want to give you guys a quick intro with her bio, and then I will turn it over to her with some questions. So Fran Dunaway is a media executive turned fashion entrepreneur and co-founder of TomboyX, a Seattle-based gender-neutral underwear and loungewear brand launched in 2013. The brand started as a passion project in collaboration with her wife and co-founder, Naomi Gonzalez, to create the perfect button-up shirt, pivoting to focus on underwear based on the overwhelming demand for their first boxer brief for women. Fran and TomboyX are driven by a belief that brands can be a force for positive change, and their messaging promotes a human agenda to inspire conversation about gender, confidence, acceptance, and inclusion. As CEO, Fran has led TomboyX to double year-over-year growth and industry recognition that has included a list of Inc. magazine's 500 fastest-growing companies twice, and being named Small Business of the Year for King County and fastest-growing minority-owned company by the Puget Sound Business Journal. So with that, I would love to welcome Fran. You there? Everything working okay? Hi.
Can you see me?
Yes.
Great. You can hear me, I take it. That's awesome.
Yes, perfect. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and sorry about the time mix-up. Hopefully we didn't
No,
your day too much.
Yeah, our apologies for not checking that.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to hear a little bit about your career path before you launched your company and what you were doing then.
I kind of I've taken a rather odd route to fashion. So I certainly didn't start out as your amazing students did, where you start out with this idea in mind for fashion. In fact, this is my third career. My first career, I was a human services administrator, and I ran group homes for autistic children. And so that I did until I was in my early 30s. I was actually executive director of an agency by the time I was 26, and then a few years later sold that, and then moved on and went to film school. And so I wanted to kind of pursue something that I enjoyed, which was photography and storytelling. I also was very much about a kind of a beginning and an end to a project, and so felt like that would be a good fit for me, and did that, sold everything, and went to film school, and then wanted to be a producer. I wanted to kind of always be in charge. That's been my thing since I think I was born. And so from there, I got into what I was passionate about, which I've been an activist all of my adult life, and so ended up working seasonally with an agency that did videos for Democratic candidates and campaigns nationwide, and then ended up getting hired by them, and then made my way up to partner in the firm, and then my wife got tired of hearing me complain about the lack of wonderful shirting options available, so she said, well, how hard can it be to start a fashion line? And so we took the leap, not knowing any better, and that kind of led us into what we are today, which is an underwear company.
Yeah, that's great. And did your wife have any fashion background?
No, actually, she's first generation Cuban American from Manhattan. She grew up in Washington Heights and was a sports massage therapist. She actually was the sports massage therapist for the women's Olympic soccer team. So,
wow.
So very talented, and yeah, neither of us knew a knit from a woven nor a balance sheet from a P&L. So we had a lot of work and a lot of learning to do.
Yeah, well, tell us about that experience. What was it like getting off the ground?
Oh gosh, I think because we knew so little about what we were doing, what we had was grit and perseverance. And at the beginning, it really was about a shirt. It wasn't about starting a new business. We just wanted. This was a little side gig. We had wonderful careers. We had paychecks. We had vacations and a lot of perks, and traveled a lot. And so it wasn't as though we were looking to no longer have a paycheck and forego all non-work related travel for the next 6 years. But that's what happens when you go full on into something that it is bigger than what you initially thought. And so we initially launched a Kickstarter campaign to pay for these shirts. That we had a friend who was a designer, and she helped us design these amazing shirts. We picked the name Tomboy because we thought it was a cute name. We both identified and related to being tomboys as kids. And so it was during the campaign, the Kickstarter campaign, that we really started to recognize that our name was resonating in a very powerful way. And I think because of my background in politics, I was able to feel like there was something palpable there. Oh, I have a puppy.
Mine does the same thing. Leaves me alone all day, but when I'm talking on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh, there you are. And so yeah, that was the journey that we kind of then started wondering, oh, this is big. It felt like a responsibility because we'd stepped into a white space that no one else was addressing. And so then that became a responsibility, and then it was like, oh no, are we going to become capitalists? And so that then went down this whole other path of kind of scratching our heads and figuring out how we could do this. And so we made sure that the brand and the company's choices and decisions are consistent with our values to this day, and that's kind of how we balance that piece of it.
Yeah, well, that's wonderful. So I think obviously we're in the middle of this 8 months into this pandemic here, but what is a typical week for you like pre-COVID? What are your main
a typical, yeah, well, it's really changing quickly because we're growing so quickly. And in fact, Naomi and I took the roles of CEO and COO, and I'm the CEO, she's the COO. And a month ago today, our new COO started, and so she has come in with a wealth and depth, information, experience, expertise, and we're just like, wow, we can't even believe what a difference that's making. So as Naomi's transitioning or has transitioned into a role that is the director of strategic growth, and then this new COO that is coming in and really changing things. And so we've gone in the last several months from being kind of in the weeds, Naomi more so than I, because we've kind of focused on one side of the business, which was the stuff I was running, and so I'm more high level, and she's been in the weeds. So now that she's able to step back and be more high level, then there's Chris. She's gonna take away the trouble.
She's really down there in the weeds.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, yeah, that was kind of where we went with it, and we're just learning. When you're in the weeds, when you're really building the company, and you're in the day-to-day and trying to figure it out and learn and understand all the KPIs that may or may not be important, it's hard to kind of look at a longer-term vision, and it's also hard to know kind of what the next thing is and what the next step is. And so to have a team now that is kind of taking that stuff and running with it is really changing the way that we're doing and looking at the business. And so it's just made a tremendous difference to us. We're getting our lives back and in a big way, and that's been a big change for us. But it used to be just figuring it out, gritting it out, and grinding, and now it's more people are just reporting to us and telling us how things are going. So
that's great. It's a good sign. What was that first hire you guys made when you started moving along after the Kickstarter?
After the Kickstarter, we had been working with a woman. I call them rainbow unicorn moments. There have been a tremendous amount of magical rainbow unicorn moments along our journey. So when we decided, so the way we had these shirts, we started the Kickstarter campaign. We started putting our logo on things, and the shirts sold out, and people were excited about the brand. And Naomi was doing customer service, and so she started hearing from a lot of people that we should make boxer briefs for women. So we had no idea no one was doing that. And so I went on to Nordstrom.com and typed in boxer briefs for women, and up came a pair of Spanx, and that was it. And so
Not the same thing.
definitely we were certain that that was not what our customer was looking for. So today, if you go to Nordstrom.com and type in boxer briefs for women, TomboyX comes up. So Nordstrom started carrying us about a year ago. And yeah, so that was exciting. But we talked to our designer friend. We said we're going to try and create this new underwear boxer briefs. We have two styles in mind. That wasn't her thing, so we articulated. We hadn't started looking, but we were like, we need someone who's got like 30 years of sourcing and production experience that can come in and kind of run with this. And lo and behold, a week later, we got an email from this woman, Julie Nomi, and she started contracting with us. She loved the brand. She'd seen our shirts in production 9 months prior and remembered the brand, remembered the attention to quality and detail. So really wanted to help us. So she came on as a contractor for Peanuts, and because we couldn't afford her. And so she was obviously employee number one. But the way we had an interesting piece of the story when we launched we came out with two different lengths of boxer brief, designed for fit and quality, comfort for women of all sizes. We've always carried extra small through 4X. We've now expanded to 6X. And she worked so hard to get the fit and the quality right. But before we sold them, we didn't have the money to pay for them. But she found us this amazing woman-owned factory in Canada. She was excited about what we were doing. So we placed a COD. So we paid for it as soon as we got it. So 2 weeks prior to the product arriving, we sold it on our website, hoping to sell half of it to pay for our product. And lo and behold, it sold out before it arrived. So
wow.
That was a huge turning point for us. And so that was in September of 2014. Well, we didn't close a series seed round of funding until the following year. So it was just Julie and I, Naomi and I working for free, and Julie working for Peanuts. And then when we got our first round of funding in August of 15, we hired Julie. We hired someone to manage our shipping. And then we hired artists that had experience both in product photography or on-figure photography, as well as graphic design skills. So those were our three critical hires. Oh, and we hired one person that was doing HR, customer service, and bookkeeping. So she was actually my cousin, and her into coming in to do 3 jobs. She just works in customer service now. So.
That's great. So who actually is doing the design work?
Well, it's really changed dramatically. It used to be kind of a very linear or stacked thing where anybody with an idea and would go, oh, we love that. Or Naomi and I would walk in and say, let's put dinosaurs on underwear, and people would be like, dinosaurs? And we're like, yeah, dinosaurs. And then they sell out. So we're trying to be much more data-driven now. We have a whole merchandise planning team. We have an in-house designer who's doing all of that. So it's going through. Our customer is number one to us, and so we start with ideas based on customer demand. And so if people are writing in and saying, hey, we need larger sizes, what about 5 and 6X? Number one customer request for 6 months, boom, we're going to do it. And then we do the same thing when we come up with an idea for a print or a new product. We try and cull it from ideas from customers, and then we come up with a survey, and we actually go out and we work with customers, loyalty customers, get to have a lot of sneak peeks and have input into what we're doing, and then they take it back and we come up with versions in-house and then go back out. So we're trying to make sure that all of our new product and new designs are home runs, and that we're not just kind of going on a whim.
That's great. How much of your business now is wholesale? Because you mentioned selling to Nordstrom, and how much of it is your direct to consumer?
It's probably 98% direct.
Okay, so you're just getting
Yeah.
off the ground with wholesale.
Yeah.
That's great. And you don't have any physical locations yet?
No, we sure don't. We're looking at Naomi's new role. We'll be looking at opportunities, either pop-up shops or, post-COVID, where we can do some sort of brick and mortar solutions, and wholesale opportunities. We want to be very careful about that.
Smart.
And we love having the direct communication with our customer. And so, while she's doing that, we're also looking at ways to decrease our lead time so that we can be more responsive. That, even though it's a digital platform, we just feel like we're much more connected directly with our customers. And, we end every week our all team meeting reading a customer review. And so
cool.
it's really important to us to be responsive to what the needs are, but also having some surprises of maybe you didn't know you need this, but you do.
Yeah. And how did you get, you mentioned selling out of a product before you even received the product. How did you get the word out there? How did people find out about your product?
At first, it was just me on Facebook running ads and setting a daily goal and turning them off and on, and that was pretty much it. Today, we've got a team. We've got 2 analysts on the team. We have people that are held accountable for their metrics and what their KPIs are in terms of open rates of emails and stuff like that. So we're so sophisticated now, but when we were just beginning, it was really at the Facebook, and at the time, luckily, technology is what enabled us to build, and the timing was everything, because not only was there a platform like Shopify that we could build a website on, e-commerce platform built, ready, just plug and play, but also Facebook wasn't as expensive as it is today, and so we could build and grow the company. But now we're on multitudes of channels, and we're watching, we have an omni-channel strategy, so we're watching what's working and what's not working in all those categories in a very detailed, data-driven way.
Great. And is obviously speak about it being gender neutral, but do you find that your customer leans one way more than the other?
Yeah, most of our customers are within the, I would say, identify female or female-born trans community, although, and really that is a challenge because of marketing, but the fact is that our product is made so well made and with quality fabrics that it works on any body type. So we have a lot of cis male customers who love our product and are frequent loyalty customers, but we do our initial fit modeling and testing on female born bodies, and so that is kind of where we're staking our claim of how we've tested. Now, since then, we've also tested on cis male bodies, but it's also there's just so much out there for cis male and male born bodies that we just wanted to be something that's around comfort for the rest of us.
Yeah, wonderful. So tell us about life since COVID. It doesn't look like you're in a normal office, but maybe you are.
No. This used to be the guest room. Naomi, we moved some stuff out of a closet upstairs and put her up there. So, and it's the first time in 7 years that we haven't shared an office. So that's kind of funny. Yeah, we hunkered down pretty quickly. I think it was around the 13th of March, and it was hard. It was an adjustment. It was I think that, a lot of us were feeling like it was not going to last as long as it has lasted. And so, for example, we didn't do this, set up our offices till we'd been here for like 3 months. And it was like, oh, I guess we should do something because it's not going away.
Stop working at the kitchen table.
Yeah. And then we also opened it up to the rest of the team, to the entire company. What do you need to make your home office more comfortable? So whether it was a chair or desk, a standing desk, or whatever that people needed at home, we had sent home their big monitors so people could have split monitors, but just to make sure that the people were having that. I'd say that, as everyone says, there are good things and bad things. I think with a lot of us are more convinced about that we can work from home, but there are distractions. And so the good side is that I now know everyone's pet and children by name in the company. So that's pretty cool. So there's a different kind of intimacy, even though it's two-dimensional.
Yeah.
But you're in their home every day, and so when the refrigerator repairman shows up, you know about it. And so that's kind of a fun thing that I like. But I worry about some of the team that are living alone or need more interaction. So we had just started having teams start to kind of come in small groups, 5 or less, and we just got hit with more sanctions. So
I heard your governor.
drawing board, just have to get through it. As far as the business goes, we've had a great year. It's been tremendous growth. We had reorganized our marketing and creative team in February. So some of our growth we feel like is directly attributable to the work that they've done, and then of course having people that are seeking comfort at home, and they're finding us and finding our product and purchasing. So it's been good, but we also, we care about the environment, we care about workers and factories, and we care about our own employees. And I think that this time has caused us all to be able to reflect about our own values and what matters to us. And I think people are getting behind companies that are values-based more. And I think also, a lot of people are jumping on the plus size bandwagon because that's where the market is taking them. And we've done it from the beginning because it was the right thing to do. And I think that people are recognizing that and are wanting to support us.
That's great. Yeah, and certainly people are very focused on comfort right now. So if you have a garment that you've been wearing for years that's bothering you, it's the perfect time to be trying something else new out.
Right, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about working in Seattle. One of my themes throughout the semester has been talking to everyone. I've had people, I will have someone from Paris next week. We've had someone working in Connecticut, someone working in DC, Seattle, obviously the norms, New York, Hudson Valley. But I love to hear a little bit about the different personalities of each town. And obviously you're based in Seattle. Your first outreach for wholesale was a Seattle-based company. So that, that changes your whole geography. But, beyond that, just kind of what it's like to work.
Yeah, no, that's a great question, and it is very different. When I was out fundraising, and I spent about the first 4 years fundraising, and so it's very different as far as the cultures go in the cities. We loved going to New York because we'd get so much done, and everybody, you'd have 5 or 6 meetings in a day, and something would happen in each meeting, and we'd be like, oh, we should stay another week and get more done. And LA, it's all about who you know and how you get to the people, and once you make those connections, but also a deal making, different way of doing it in LA. And then here, people are like, yeah, we should have coffee in a couple of weeks. And so it's just much slower pace and, more tech bro kind of stuff going on. But also there are the Tommy Bahama was built here, Eddie Bauer and REI and Outdoor Research, and Nordstrom, of course, being here. So Costco, yeah. And so there wasn't the same kind of fashion, new upcoming brand group to choose from, but we certainly have been lucky in finding people. Oh, and then let's don't forget Amazon.
Yeah, right.
So leveling up our team in the past few years, our challenge early on was we just didn't have the funding to pay people market rates. And so at the beginning, people were just getting involved with us because they were super excited and cared about the brand. And so then after you get to a certain level, you've got to start leveling up your team as well. But we got revenues to, I'd say, about 7 million, just over 7 million in revenue on a team that had no e-commerce experience.
Really
So yeah, it was hard work. But then when you start bringing people in with experience, holy cow, you can go faster and get there so much more quickly. And so,
But now you have the heart, you have the culture built, which is the really hard part.
bingo. And that's the payoff. And that's some of the things that you don't intentionally set out to do that somehow reinforce what you're doing in the long run.
That's great. So tell us about a time in this path to getting Tomboy off the ground that you feel like you maybe made a mistake and something you may have done differently.
Okay, yeah. Well, where to start? One of the things that we did was not vet. We used to do the shipping ourselves. I mean, my parents would fly up here in the holidays for a few years just to help boxing and getting things out the door because it was just me and Naomi. And so I've got great pictures of my dad lugging stuff out. And so when we just made the decision to move our shipping to a 3PL or third-party logistics, we didn't know enough about e-commerce shipping and what that difference between that and someone who's typical wholesale. And so we didn't vet that well enough and ended up paying way too much money to people that didn't really know what they were doing. And so then moved to a different 3PL, which turned into a second nightmare that was worse than the first. And so then when it was time to move again in a hurry, Naomi spent much more time and diligence in vetting and making sure that we didn't make that mistake again. And so, yeah, we've moved to, we've been a couple of years now with the 3PL that is, a cut above anyone else that we've ever worked with. So that was a good lesson, is understanding what you're getting yourself into, because if you get with the wrong vendor, then it can really impact your customer's experience, impact your bottom line, all of that stuff. I would say, just being decisive about things and not belaboring a point. And like when fundraising, for example, when I was out raising money, I would say that at first I had too big of a more of a shotgun approach and thought, oh, let me talk to anyone and everyone, when it's actually much better. I'm a big video gamer, so sorry for the analogy, but I'm much more of a sniper approach is a much better a way to do it, where you look and see what they've invested in, what their interests are, and if they've invested in a company like you. If not, you're wasting your time, because it isn't just about the money to people who write checks. They also want to feel like they have something to offer outside of a check. And if they don't understand your industry or what you're doing, then there's just no way. And then I would say, to piggyback on that, at this time would be, now's the time to start networking and building up those relationships with people that you want in your network for when the time comes further down the road where you might need to ask a favor or ask someone to go out for coffee or a drink, or so that you can ask their opinion. And I would take opinions from as many people that have differing opinions as you possibly can, and then come up with your own. And so not going to someone and saying, what would you do? You want to find people that will tell you what they did and not be looking for how they would do what you're doing, because you're the one that's going to do that the right way and your way. And so educating yourself or arming yourself with a lot of different opinions. I can't tell you the number of people in the industry that tried to talk us out of the name TomboyX. And that was the smartest thing we did, was to poo-poo that idea and move forward.
Yeah.
And I
Why?
mean, we had some. I think that for some people, it brought up a connotation that was limiting, and they kind of thought that that was a limiting factor. And at the time, it wasn't a word that was very much used. And so some people of a certain generation were called that when they were, suspected of being a lesbian. And so it was a big ew, and so I think that it's a strong, powerful word. The fact that we could get the trademark was a stroke of luck, and the
Yeah.
fact that it's a word that people identify with innately, that they may appear different on the outside, they may not all look the same, but identify with that tomboy spirit, which is doing it your way and getting out there and being yourself and unapologetic and not that you have to apologize, but it's just that whole notion of being who you are and kind of doing it differently. And there are archetypes throughout history of amazing tomboyish women or people that have done something that it was outside the norm.
That's great. I think that's really good advice, though. And I don't think we've actually heard that from any other speakers, this gathering of information, but making sure you're trusting your own gut and making your own decisions.
Absolutely.
Sustainability is also an ongoing thing that I've been talking about, not only this semester, but last year as well. Is there anything that you are doing towards that end to get more sustainable?
Yes, in fact, I mentioned employee number one, and who has been running product development. So her passion, if you will, is really textiles and innovation. And our Series B investors are a B Corp venture capital firm, and so they are very supportive of any efforts that we make in sustainability. So we've moved Julie out of our product team and have put her as head of textile and sustainability innovation. So we're dedicating a full-time employee to being out there. What's the newest and latest and greatest technology that is sustainable? We've always had it be a focus, but this stuff is changing so quickly and rapidly, and new fabrications are being introduced, and new processes for ink that save water, and you have to really stay ahead of it. So we don't want to rest on our laurels and say, well, we've done this much, we've got Ecotech certified, but what is our actual carbon footprint, and how can we impact that? And so that's the sincerity, the level of resources that we want to put into it, because we want to be leaders in that and pushing the envelope
Great.
at all times.
That's good. So kind of going back to your job previously, you're one of the only marketing people that I actually have coming in this semester. So I wondered if maybe you could talk to the students a little bit about what it likes to enter that industry, and what an entry-level job looks like.
Yeah, depending on what your interest is, I've been one of the most intriguing career paths for my knowledge. Again, I didn't know anything about this, but if you like math and you like fashion, like the merchant side and the planning side of things, it's an incredible left-right brain experience. And we have one, our person leading our merchandising team is such a rock star and is able to bring creativity in, but boy, she can crank out the numbers and tell you what where the trends are, how she's going to save us some gross margins, and how she's going to only make this much so that they sell out by this time. And it's just a really remarkable career that I had no insight into prior to this. and so, looking into what your own passions are. So we have our digital marketing team, and then we have our creative team, and then we have our merchant planning. And really, we've shifted from being kind of a product-driven company to much more of a merchant customer-driven company. And so within, for example, maybe I can just run through kind of what those categories look like. So within the merch planning team, we have a planner that's planning how much to buy next year, that works really closely with our budget team. And the budget team, says we want to grow by 60% next year. What can we sell? And the planner says, well, we'll need to sell this much of this much of underwear, this much of sleep, and so they help build a plan that way. And then our designer rests in that group, and so the designer is working with the merchant planning team. Okay, well, let's introduce a new category next year. How big is that category going to be, and what are we going to make from it? So that's kind of the people in that department. Then obviously the digital marketing side, we have our email team. Our head of email reports directly to our head of kind of channel purchasing. He runs all of our Facebook and all the different channels, budgets for those things, and then email feeds into that. So that's kind of our acquisition and retention team. And so they want to go get new customers, and then they want to keep them happy. And then within that, we have analysts, and then we have someone that does our site UX, someone that's looking at what the customer experience is, and then all working very closely together. We also have a department that is the creative team. So we have a photographer that's doing all of our on body. We typically will hire someone to shoot models, but we have in-house product photography. Then we have someone that's doing all of the graphic design, so that for the emails and for all of the social media stuff. Oh, and in the digital side, we've got someone that's doing our social media and PR and working with influencers and coming up with a strategy for growth. And in each of those teams, they have, their plan rolls up into our bigger plan, so that they have goals and are accountable to how they're growing and what their growth contributes to the overall company. So that's something that we've worked hard to get to, which is really cool to see. And so that's kind of our creative and marketing. There's also on the development side, especially for fashion students, there are different ways to get involved in that, and that is in the tech pack designs or fit, and working on the patterns and how the fit works, and obviously in sustainability and product, or in fabrics and textiles that we use. So a lot of different entry points, just depending, or if you wanted to get in and kind of sample all of it. A lot of companies like us are looking for interns and are happy to bring people in, and you can try out different departments a month here, a month there, just to get a sense of it. Because one thing I've definitely learned is, although some people effectively, when they're 5, they know they're going to be a train conductor, and they actually follow through with it. My path has been much more circuitous, and I found that if you're open to kind of following where your strengths lie, then you'll get to a place that is really comfortable for you.
Yeah, that's great advice. And skills are transferable, right? Just because you're down one path doesn't mean that you aren't able to change course. You got to convince someone you're able to. That's the hard part, I guess. But
absolutely.
What do you feel like has been the most fulfilling part of your career thus far?
There are moments today that Naomi and I just pinch ourselves, and we can't even believe and fathom. I mean, we just look at it in awe and say, wow, I can't believe that, we've spent the last coming up on 8 years of our life building this. And it's just mind blowing, really, to see that we've done that. And so to be able to do that with her and to be in a place that, we feel really good about what we've built, the team we've got, and the positive impact. We are able to give back to the community. We've made that a priority every step of the way. We've never been profitable yet. We will be next year, but the fact that we set aside, it really is about our values. And so the fact that we've been able to stand by those and not waver, and it isn't just about growing the business, but it's about giving back. I mean, this year we were able to work with our customers and ourselves contribute over $50,000 to the BLM, Black Lives Matter. And so to have a company that isn't just about capitalism, but is about being a good steward of the environment and community is really important to us. And the fact that that's what we've built, I am extremely proud and grateful for that opportunity. And then, just being able to do things like promote our VP of Finance to CFO a couple of weeks ago. I mean, that was like, whoa, it was so cool because he's been with us for 2 years and he's just been amazing. So it's those kind of things that are about connection and making a difference that I feel like
that's great. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned in the beginning that you felt like this was a real white space. Have there been competitors kind of come on the scene since you've started, or do you still feel like you're kind of floating out there?
Yeah, lots of people are coming on. It's been amazing to watch and see what folks are doing. And we what we're focused on, our differentiation is really our customer focus and our values, frankly, and what we represent and how we're going to build a business. So we're building a brand, and we want to be a brand that's here to stay and that people identify with and relate to, and we're not just trying to sell you underwear. And so I think that's our differentiator, and that we were out there ahead of the game. But I do think that sticking to our guns about what and why we care about something is the way we win.
The customer senses that for sure, the authenticity.
Mm-hmm.
Does your customer skew in any specific age range, or do you kind of?
We're all over the place. My favorite time of the week is I have a call time, and I just call customers. And I remember one week, every single call I made was to a retired woman, and so it was just like, oh, fascinating. But so it is all over the place. Although I'd say that the 45 to 55% are in the 18 to 30 range,
mm-hmm.
And we have people on either sides of that. And our number one request right now is for smaller sizes so that we can get into the tweens. So
it's funny you mentioned, because I have a 5-year-old who is everything is too tight. I don't know that she would necessarily call herself a tomboy because she is very into pink and princesses and purple as well. But everything is too tight. The pants, the shirts, the underwear.
Mm-hmm.
She's 4 3/4 and she's wearing size 8 because she wants everything to be huge. My sister just yesterday asked me if I had tried boxer briefs because she's wearing the underwear so big that then she can't wear pants under it comfortably. So I was just thinking that was a good thing to check out for her.
Yeah. Well, they're coming.
Yeah, great. I'm gonna have to keep an eye on it. Well, hopefully she'll outgrow it, but still, comfort is key.
I think we're getting them next month. Actually, I think we go to triple X small. I don't know if it would fit a 4 or 5-year-old, depending.
Yeah.
But we are doing the smaller sizes.
Yeah. Oh, good to know. Well, my sister is putting her 7-year-old in boxer briefs because she's the youngest with 2 older brothers, so she was very interested in them. And
oh yeah.
She's wearing the boy ones and happy with it.
Exactly. Under skirts, they're the best.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think I just want to ask you one more question, which would be what your number one piece of advice is for anyone who wants to launch a business.
Find a mentor, possibly 2 if you can. And if you are fortunate to find 2, find one who's an internal optimist and find another who's an internal pessimist. And depending on what you need that day, you know which one to call. And we just lucked into that. We had two, and if we were having a really bad day, I always called the optimist, and she would bolster our confidence. And if I was feeling a little too cocky, I'd call for a reality check and get brought down to reality. But another piece of that is to not let yourself ride the highs too high or the lows too low. Nothing's real or solid until the check is in the bank, kind of thing. So if you get too excited, or if you are over the top with the excitement about something and something falls through, you've got a long way to go down, and then it's hard to pick yourself up. So just stay even, stay steady, stay the course. Be open to advice, be open to other people's concepts, and mostly listen to your customer, because they often have the best advice. And then just be true, follow your gut from there.
That's great. I love that. Well, students, I want to turn it over to you. Please raise your hand if you have a question. Claire, let's start with you.
Hi. I just want to say that like for years I've known about your brand and I really respect it. I really like it. And something that I've been thinking about going into for a long time is like designing clothes that are like gender neutral or made for transgender or non-binary people. How do you go about designing for like those demographics?
That's a great question. And, we actually are fortunate in that we have such a great community here in Seattle and elsewhere. And so when it's time for us to design something new, we bring members of that community in. So when we introduced several different adaptive products last year, and we worked with people, we worked with trans women to develop our tucking underwear, learned a lot, would have definitely not made it the right or the best way if we hadn't done that. We brought them in every step of the way in the pattern making, and then once we had samples, had them wear test them and come back with feedback. And in fact, if you go on to those pages on our site, you can see little interviews with the people that worked with us behind the scenes. The same with the compression tops, which I was very anti-compression top for a while because I'm a 2-time breast cancer survivor, and we had a trans guy, 12-year-old, and his mom come in. They actually won a contest, and so we flew him in from, I think it was upstate New York. And so he and I had a conversation at brunch one morning, and he explained to me what he'd been wearing as compression tops. And so I said, all right, I'm going to rethink this, and we're going to try and come up with something that isn't medically unsafe, but that gets you to a place where you can feel the comfort that you're seeking, and the body dysphoria that to help address that. And so we worked with several of our trans community here and have designed them, and we just put them back up on the site a couple days ago because we can't keep them in stock. And we found this really special Italian fabric that is compressive, and I have several, and so I'm wearing them myself. And so just figuring out and understanding our customer and what the needs are. And the same with we have packing underwear that we introduced. I think it's been a couple of years, but we worked with some well-known influencers, Ryan Casada, for anybody that knows folks out in the trans community, and then local people here. But when we went through the same process that we go through for all of our products, when we went with 5 and 6X, for example, we brought 5 and 6X customers into the office for a focus group. That's where we started. We didn't start with what we think they would want. We brought them in and asked and spent a half a day, our product team, getting to know them, getting to know what their needs are, and then brought them back in when we had samples, listened, took notes, and addressed it, because most fashion companies, the way they figure out sizing is they start with a 0 or a 2, which is about the size of my water bottle, and then they grade it by a mathematical equation of okay, well, so a 5X is actually 5 times the size of a extra small. It's like, no, that's not really, doesn't really work on bodies that way. So we refined all of our patterns per size, which is unconventional and not the cheapest way to do it. But it was because of our commitment to our community and the great need that there is. So good for you, Claire. Happy to answer any questions you might have or keep in touch.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Great, Amanda, I have you next.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, how are you? So my question was, where do you see the brand evolving in the future? Or like, how do you want to use the brand to continue to empower people?
That's great. Well, we are definitely looking at other product category extensions. So keep an eye out on what we've got coming up, and continuing to expand on what we do really well, but looking at other opportunities to kind of get out beyond what we normally do. And then the empowerment piece is something that we're constantly talking about and trying to refine, because we want to connect, we want to create more content. Sneak peek, we've got a concert coming up next month. So just different ways to engage and connect and bring people together within the TomboyX community, and building quality products and products that fit who people see themselves as, and they feel good when they put it on, is really important to us. And we hear from customers every day in ways that we've touched them and made an impact on their life, and it means so much to our entire team. And I couldn't be more proud of the caliber of people that work for us that really care. I haven't mentioned our customer support team, but they're out on the front lines and they really care. And so they're talking to people all the time and letting us hear what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and look, there's always opportunity to learn and grow. So I think it's just keeping it forefront and making sure that we stay true to who we are as we continue to grow, because it can be challenging at times to keep that kind of moral, social responsibility compass as you continue to grow. So thinking about it in the people we hire, thinking about it in the product we develop, and thinking about it in the stories that we create and the ways we engage with our customer.
Really cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Amanda.
Diamond Lewis, I have you next.
Hello, I have 2 questions for you. What
Sure.
advice would you give young fashion entrepreneurs just starting and hoping to make it in the industry?
I think that the whole understanding the business side of things, I think, is a really important add-on. It's one thing to have incredible eye for fashion and color and creating beautiful things, but how do you create a business around that? And how do you understand and understanding the mechanics of a business? What is a P&L? What is a balance sheet? What does it mean? What are margins? Why are margins important? Margins are important because you want to continue to be able to be around and doing what you're doing. And so it's those kinds of things that seem like the boring, tedious stuff. Or you find a business partner or co-founder that's good at that. And so they can keep an eye on that. And so I would say making sure that's part of it, because it's not as though, very few artists get discovered, if you will, and then suddenly become, able to pay their bills based on that discovery. Instead, it's hard work, it's grit, it's determination, but it's also being smart about the math. And so, I know there's math involved in patterns and fashion and all of that, but the business side of how you make it into a business that pays you and pays your bills and pays your people.
Thank you. And my other question was, where do you see TomboyX in the next 10 years?
You know, I'm hoping that we just continue to grow and become a household name that is about something, that stands for something that people proudly wear, and that, you know, when you see the X equal or the logo on something, then you know it's somebody that you identify and relate with, and are part of this need and desire to make the world a better place.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Love to.
Janice, I have you next.
Hello.
Hi, Denise.
Hi, thank you for coming to speak with us today.
My pleasure.
So my question is, I took a look at your website and I saw that you were an activist before this became your career. So I was wondering, for someone who has so many roles in their life, like, were there any times in your career where you had to, separate being an activist from being a brand, just to, uphold one over the other? And like, how do you balance that? And, how do you make those two come together?
That's a great question. And, you know, at the beginning when we started, so my wife and I have always been in careers that were giving back. We were never the kind of person that could just go to a job and you know, make Candy Crush games or something like that. Not that there's not, I play it myself. So I could never go to work and do that. I wanted to, it was part of who I am, is I had to feel like I was doing something and having an impact. And she's the same, you know, in terms of being a sports massage therapist, but that giving. And so we had a very serious heart-to-heart when we got started that, you know, do you really want to become a capitalist and, you know, go out there and do all these things that we're kind of been fighting against for so long? And then we realized that the opportunity, and I think the further we've gotten in this, you know, I'm very much about gender equality, gender equity, economic equity, for the POC community, as well as, you know, underprivileged, anyone that needs a leg up that isn't part of the privilege. And so that was such an important part of who we are. She, as I mentioned, my wife is first generation Cuban American, you know, the first one to graduate college in her family. And so it was a really important thing for us, because it wasn't an option for us to not bring our values to the table.
Of course.
And so we've just never wavered from that. I think that sets us apart. I think that probably, you know, that's why it took us longer to raise money. It's why we, you know, our seed round of funding, 90% of our investors were women. And so, but at the end of the day, what I think I've learned from this experience is that we can actually use economics. If we can bring other people economic advantages, that's how we're going to change the world, because they're not going to change it for us.
Right.
We have to get in positions where we're on boards, where we're helping each other. We're not closing the door behind us. We're opening it up and bringing people in. And so when we first were raising money, there were a handful of funds that were investing in women. And I don't know if all of you know, but the venture capital, what they call institutional money, only 2% of it goes to female founders. And so a lot of women have come together and set up these investment groups that are looking for people that don't look like the guys that get the typical, you know, the 98% of the venture capital funding. And so, and I'm getting involved in a couple of those groups, and we're out there actively seeking people who are being, you know, are taking the risks involved with becoming entrepreneurs. And it's very hard. It's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I've faced some hard things in my life. But being an entrepreneur is really tough. So we want to create some opportunities to kind of level that playing field, because we've got to get to economic equity in a bigger way, because that's where we find real parity.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you.
Brittany Weiner, I have you next.
Hi, can you guys see me?
I can.
Hi, so I had to log on a tiny bit late, so I don't know if you already answered something like this, but I have a few questions. So if you've already answered this, I'll go to the next one. But my question was, you launched your brands, I saw in 2012, and that was kind of like, I feel like personally before the whole body neutrality and genderless clothing thing really erupted. So I wanted to say, do you think that TomboyX helped to kickstart it, or do you attribute your success to being like the right place at the right time, or a mix of both?
I think it's probably more the latter, less of the former, because we certainly didn't know what the hell we were doing. But at the same time, there was a trend that was going, and then the Me Too movement happened. And while we incorporated in 2012, we didn't actually launch until 2013. So
Okay.
that was when we first started selling product. But you're right, no one else was doing it. But we did the size inclusivity because we just felt it was the right thing to do. And we had friends we'd heard recount the horror stories of going into stores, either if they were masculine presenting and then get redirected to the men's department, or if they're shopping in their masculine presenting, but shopping in the women's, get redirected to the men's, and just the frustration, and then also size inclusivity, and just looking at the horrible choices that people had. But also because I think we're from the LGBTQ community, we know what it feels like to be shamed by a society by not being seen or represented. And so it was important to us not to have that experience where, oh, well, if you're of a certain size, you have to go over here to this section. You have to go to the plus size tab. That does something to you. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. And so that was just, again, that's just who we were, and we weren't going to back down on it. We had factories tell us, well, it's more expensive if you do that way. You should have different pricing, and we're like, no, we're not going to have different pricing.
Yeah, like supposedly when you go into larger sizes, you're supposed to charge more, right? Because it uses more fabric. Like, how do you tell someone that they have to pay more for their
Exactly, and we just leveled out the pricing so that we wouldn't have to shame someone by doing that. So that was important to us.
Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
Just have some time for two more questions of Bridget Balavia.
Hi. I actually didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say that I really love what you're doing. I love everything that you've done with philanthropy, from the ACLU to the bailout fund and everything, and just being really inclusive. Sorry. My sister's actually trans, and we also took in another girl who got kicked out from her family honestly. So this is a huge, just something that's been in my life for a long time, and I really love this when brands are really just true to themselves and trying to make the world better. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I love hearing that. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do-Yoon Koo, I have you next.
Hi, I have a quick question. I really like your brand name. How did you come up with the name?
We were taking a walk, and we were tossing around a lot of different ideas. We just, Tomboy just had a ring to it that we really thought was fun. It was cute. Naomi and I both were, playing ball with the boys as kids. And so we just thought it was a cute name. We thought we could make up a fun logo, and we had no idea how much it would resonate with not only people in the United States, but people around the world. And there's a certain kind of brotherhood, solidarity, sisterhood, brotherhood, all of that people that understand the word, that feel like it's part of them. And so it's really a feeling that you have about yourself and that resonates. And we had no idea, again, stumbling into that one, we had no idea that would lead us to where it has taken us, and that there would be so much passion around it. To have an instant brand because of a name is pretty much unheard of. Most people have to, you have to get to understand what Nike stands for, but people were seeing our logo and saying, yes, that's me. And, the first time we went to a Pride booth, and Naomi and I have got a picture of it, and she's hanging up our one little, vinyl banner that said TomboyX. But people would walk by from afar away and they go, Tomboy, that's me. And they'd come over and want to see what we had. So it was just personal preference at first, but ended up being a good business choice as well.
Okay, thank you.
Nimrita Gill, I have you next. And Fran, hopefully you're okay, because I think we may run over just by a little bit over 5 minutes.
Totally fine.
Okay. Nimrita, are you there? I know she's been in and out, so Gabriella, you want to go?
Yes, hi, thank you. I just wanted to thank you, Fran, for this amazing lecture. This was incredible. It was so good to hear from you, and the work that you guys are doing is just phenomenal. And it's I just wanted to say thank you and how much I admire you. And also, well, I guess the question is was there any decision along the way that you were definitely inclined to take, that your mentors or people that you trusted had a different idea, and that you followed their advice instead of going with what you thought was the right path to take?
Yes. Numerous times we were told early on that we were just a niche lesbian underwear company, and that we should broaden our focus. And we kept standing behind who doesn't want comfortable underwear. And so rather than being pigeonholed, and we've actually doubled down. We actually know that a core customer of ours is within the LGBTQ community, but there are a lot of allies, there are a lot of people within that, externally, or people that are just looking for functional underwear that works for them. And look, we now carry everything from a thong to a 9-inch boxer brief. So it isn't as though we're just doing boxer briefs. We have something for everyone, but the brand piece of it, we just feel like, people want to get behind it and want to express that side of themselves. And, you may have different underwear for different days, but that was one of the things that I think we would definitely not still be here had we not just stayed true to who we were and believed in people showing up.
Thank you.
Nimrita, thanks, Gabrielle. Nimrita just typed in the chat. She says her connection is bad, but she wanted to say thank you for coming in today and giving us amazing advice, and to ask, how do you keep yourself motivated through the ups and downs of your business, and how you managed to do that during COVID as well?
Yeah, gosh, that's another great question. Really rely on our team. And you did see the puppy, that helped. That's helped through COVID. We try to laugh at least once a day, and I'm fortunate in that my wife laughs at all my dad jokes, so that makes it easier. But just relying on getting exercise, getting yourself out there, and finding joy in some way, something that gives you a little bit of joy and a little bit of hope. This has been an epic, crazy year. I mean, a lot of y'all are probably a quarter of my age, and so you don't understand that this is a once in a lifetime year. This is not the norm, one would hope.
Here's hoping.
So there's just been so much coming at all of us from, so much uncertainty in so many ways and areas. But I think that we just have to rely on each other and keep standing for making things better and getting through it. Just knowing we'll get through it. We're hit right now with more bad news as the darkness, winter came, and as it was promised. And so we have to get through it and do our part to get through it with the least casualties and get through to January, where we can have a new administration and just try and get to places that are better for all of us. That might have been a lame answer. I apologize. My apology to me if it wasn't.
No, I thought that was great. Good way to end, actually, on a positive, optimistic outlook. Students, I mentioned at the beginning of class, but I did want to say thank you very much to Fran, because she has generously offered to poll you guys for some good advice for your attendance question, and she is generously giving away prizes to the top 5 answers. So with that, I will turn it over to the attendance. It's actually a 2-parter. And you can take a few minutes. It's you don't need to rush an answer, because I know you may want to look around on the website a bit more. But the first question is, what is your favorite item on the website and why? And the second is, what is an item you would like to see on TomboyX but don't? And if you could please email me, as you usually do, but also CC Arlene at TomboyX. They are going to choose the winners on their side. Hopefully you guys can give some great insights, and it'll be win-win for both TomboyX and you guys. But the top 5 answers will receive a swag bag and or a $50 gift card to the site. Fran, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for this generous giveaway as well. And we wish you the best of luck making it through the next 60 days to January 20th, and also with business, because you're really doing some exciting, amazing things, and we can't wait to see what's next.
I can't thank you enough. I'm so glad I got to see some faces and not just names. I loved all the diversity, and it looks like you've got a world-class group here, and I loved all the representation from around the world and seeing some of the beautiful artistic designs and whatnot on the walls behind a few of you. So my pleasure. I'm always here. I'm happy to chat with folks or answer any questions anytime, and I'm looking forward to your amazing answers. So send us an email and take care. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thanks. You too, Fran. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Professor, I had a quick question about the midterm.
Sure.
Are you still there? So the description on Blackboard says that we can get the thing on PDF. But I'm not sure that I'm looking at the right file. Because are we supposed to just do the midterm within Blackboard without? Is that what it is?
Correct. Yeah. So the reading assignment, State of Fashion 2020 by McKinsey, is a PDF that is posted under content on Blackboard.
Yeah. Okay.
And the midterm itself is an assignment link that you follow.
Okay. That's what I want to make sure that the midterm is just a link, it's not a PDF. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And as of 6 o'clock today, you'll be able to view it. So if you go in, you can go in early, even before you're ready to answer, and take a peek and see that it's working okay for you. If you just be aware that you have 2 attempts. So I don't know if going in that first time might wipe out you going twice.
Okay.
So you may want to keep that in mind. But there's no time limit.
Thanks, Professor.
No problem. Kylie, did you have a question as well?
So
I did go to look at it, and it says that I only have one attempt for the midterm. I'm not sure why. And the other question I had, so you said it's going to be available to look at 6. Is it like an essay, or is it like short answer questions with like prompts?
Short answer questions.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
For some reason, I thought it was like an essay we had to write.
No, it's about 5 questions based on the reading.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then any idea why I only have one attempt? Because I haven't because I mean, you said it wasn't posted until 6
I will
anyway, so
double
I wasn't
check
able to
that
see
there.
anything.
I will double check that there are 2 options, but it might be because you already opened up. Let me just double
Even though I
check
couldn't see
that.
anything.
It's marked for. I'll double check it, but it should definitely be marked for 2 attempts. Here we go.
Thank you.
Yep. Nope. You know what? It wasn't. So I will do that right now.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. No problem. Was there another question, Brittany? Did you have one?
Yeah, I wanted to know, just for when we send you the Word document with our 4 questions and we have to answer it to send it to you, do we put it in the body of the email, or should we update the Word doc that we sent you originally?
It's easiest if you update the Word doc and send it back that way.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Thanks. All right, everyone, have a good week, whoever's left.